What's up guys, my name is Ace, and welcome back to another gun guide. This is a series where I go into great detail with all of the stats as well as some excellent attachment combinations for every gun in Modern Warfare 3. And in today's episode, we're going to be covering the brand new assault rifle that came with Season 5. This is the STG44. And starting it off as always, let's have a look at our damage profile, and with this gun, you can see our bonus multiplier zone includes the entire torso as well as arms, and it's going to be a 4 to 6 shot kill within that damage zone, depending on the range. As for headshots, in the maximum damage range, if you can mix 2 headshots in with a torso shot, you can get a 3-shot kill, which can actually be very helpful to your time to kill potential, which we'll look at in just a little bit. But next, let's have a look at our rate of fire, which is 600 rounds per minute. This is identical to the Cast-Off 7.62 and the ISO Hemlock, and it's just a little bit faster than the Holger 5.56. And what this means for our time to kill potential is with a 4-shot kill, we're killing in 300 milliseconds, which is a little bit better than average for assault rifles in this game. So not a bad time to kill, but just keep in mind you will be outgunned by most SMGs in their maximum damage range. And then on top of that, it's worth noting, if you mix those 2 headshots in with a torso shot in that maximum damage range, now we're killing in 3 shots at 200 milliseconds, which is a very, very fast time to kill in this game. So if the opportunity presents itself, I would highly recommend trying to hit those headshots. After that though, let's move on to our damage ranges, and this is an area where the STG44 really excels. It actually has the best maximum damage range out of all of the Modern Warfare 3 assault rifles at 44 meters. In 6v6 multiplayer, that's going to be covering the vast majority of your gunfights, and unless you're really trying to hang back, it's going to be fairly rare that you'll run into gunfights beyond that range. And when we combine that with the fact that we get a 300 millisecond time to kill within this range, that is a very impressive time to kill in those mid-ranges where many of the other assault rifles have dropped off to their second damage range and they're taking significantly longer to kill. Additionally, we have best-in-class bullet velocity with the STG44 at 960 meters per second, and that means your gun is going to be literally hit scan out to 48 meters, and that's again very impressive for this game for an assault rifle. And then let's just have a quick look at hardcore game modes, and with this gun, it's going to be a guaranteed 1-shot kill anywhere in the body in that maximum damage range, so out to 44 meters. Then in the next 2 damage ranges, so extending out to 61 meters, it's still got a 1-shot kill potential to the body, but you have to hit that bonus multiplier zone in the torso or arms, and then beyond that, the only way you're getting a 1-shot kill is to the head. Overall, for hardcore, while pretty much every gun is good or at least very usable, I would say the STG44 is actually one of the standouts that's going to be very good in hardcore modes. Next up, when it comes to hipfire, our minimum hipfire spread, when we're just standing still, this is actually quite good for an assault rifle at 2.6 degrees. However, our maximum spread when we're firing and moving, this is going to be worse than average for assault rifles at 7.7 degrees. So in general, I would say hipfiring's probably not going to be your best bet with this gun. And now let's get into recoil, and this is yet another area where the STG44 really excels. It doesn't have too much recoil. And what I noticed is with the first 4 or so shots that you fire, those are going to be very accurate, grouped really nicely. Then it kind of shoots upward pretty aggressively for the next 5 or so shots. And then from there, the vertical magnitude's not quite as bad, and it starts drifting horizontally to the right. Overall, it is a pretty easy recoil pattern to predict and control, and as long as you're getting those first 4 shots on target, you're going to be extremely accurate with those. It's really just that sudden vertical climb after those 4 shots that may get in the way sometimes, and that's something you just have to be prepared for with this gun. Next, let's get into our handling stats, and our aim down sight time is a bit on the slow side for an assault rifle at 260 milliseconds, whereas our sprint to fire time is pretty standard for an assault rifle at 210 milliseconds. And then, taking a look at our reload add time, this is quite fast actually, at just 1.4 seconds. It turns out that's actually the fastest out of the Modern Warfare 3 assault rifles. And then finally, when it comes to our movement speed stats, unfortunately, this is an area where the STG44 doesn't do too well. Our base movement speed is 4.8 meters per second, which is below average for assault rifles. Our sprint speed is the slowest out of the Modern Warfare 3 assault rifles at 5.4 meters per second. And our aim walking speed, that is pretty standard for an assault rifle at 2.9 meters per second. And there we go, that is going to wrap it up for all of the base stats of the STG44. Now it's time to move into some excellent attachment combinations I threw together for you guys. Keeping in mind, with the STG44, it's one of those guns where you can just build it in so many different ways while maintaining a really solid build. So I'm just going to be sharing 3 really solid ones that I threw together, but don't feel limited. There are many other ways that you can build this. And starting it off with my first one, this is my accuracy build, and this thing is incredibly accurate. With this one, we're using the Ferngevere barrel, the new Quartermaster suppressor, which I will have a video talking about that one fairly soon on the channel. We've got the SL Skeletal vertical underbarrel to help with handling, but also to help with that sudden vertical climb with our recoil. We've got the Mark III reflector optic on there and the DR79 combo stock. And with this one, you can see the recoil is super minimal. Those bullet holes are all practically touching, and there's very little that you need to do in order to control that recoil over time. Our aim down sight speed for such an accurate gun is pretty solid at 281 milliseconds, but of course this is noticeably slower than the base aim down sight speed. And it's a similar story with our sprint out time. It's a bit on the slow side at 242 milliseconds, but this is the type of build where you're typically hanging back and taking longer range fights, so you don't want to be rushing around like crazy anyway. Now to top that off, our range values are improved by 15%, and this gun doesn't really need that improvement, but hey, it's a nice bonus, and our bullet velocity is ridiculously good at 1133 milliseconds. That gives us a hit scan range of almost 57 meters. So that right there, I think has now taken the top spot for my favorite long-range full auto build in the entire game. It's just so accurate, it carries that time to kill potential out to such a good range, and you're able to keep the handling stats really in check as well. As for the next one I got for you guys, this one's my balanced stealth build. So this one's a good all-arounder. It keeps you off the radar. It's decent for actually getting around the map at least reasonably aggressively. And with this, we're using the Stalker D9 suppressed barrel, so that we've got the integrated suppressor in there. We once again have that SL skeletal vertical underbarrel. That's going to be on all of the class setups I share today. We've got the Mark III reflector. We're once again using that DR79 combo stock. That one's just so nice for our recoil control on this. And then finally, we're going to top it off with the 40 round mag just to make it a bit more versatile for dealing with a bunch of enemies without having to reload. And with this one, we still got an extremely accurate gun on our hands for most situations. It's more accurate than the base version of the recoil at least. Our aim down sight speed is slightly improved at 255 milliseconds. Our sprint out speed is still not incredible, but it's at least manageable at 218 milliseconds. And then just like with the previous build, our range and bullet velocity values are boosted quite nicely, even though this gun really doesn't need it. And that right there is the build that I tend to gravitate toward the most, just because it's so versatile for your standard 6v6 experience. However, I also wanted to share a build if you wanted to be a lot more aggressive with the STG44. So with this one, we're using the factory short barrel, the Scratch 20L suppressor, once again that SL skeletal vertical underbarrel, we've got the A70 Venom stock, and then finally the Not Z3 grip. And with this one, we are sacrificing a little bit in the accuracy department, but I'd still consider this to be quite an accurate gun, especially if you are playing aggressively and keeping yourself in those close to mid-range engagements. This will handle that no problem with this recoil. Our aim down sight speed is very fast for an assault rifle at 208 milliseconds. Our sprint out time is also very fast for an assault rifle at 121 milliseconds. That's almost at SMG level. And we're only sacrificing 2% to our damage range, which really isn't that bad at all. And this gun can definitely handle a slight reduction. And then to top all of that off, we are staying off the radar with the Scratch 20L suppressor. And with that, that's going to wrap it up today's gun guide on the STG44. As for my thoughts on this gun, I think it's really, really good. It's a solid all-arounder. While it doesn't kill extremely fast up close, it's got a super solid time to kill. That range is really, really good, as well as the bullet velocity. And when you combine that with how good the recoil is, that just makes for a really easy to use gun that's going to be super consistent. And I actually think this is going to fall into that group of guns that launches a little too powerful, and then they end up nerfing it a bit down the road. Not that I'm calling for a nerf, I just suspect that's going to be the case with the STG44. But of course, these are just my thoughts, and I'd love to hear what you guys think about this gun in those comments down below. And if you guys have missed any of the previous gun guides, I've covered every gun in the game currently, aside from the static HV, that new SMG. I'll be covering that within the next few days. I will leave a link to the playlist in the description of the video. If you enjoyed this one, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.